So I found out about this stuff about 3 months ago, and I think it is such a hack for dieting and getting lean. It is a game changer, and I've used it every single day for the past 3 months. And today I want to share with you guys why I think Psyllium Husk is a dieting hack. And if you're trying to stay lean or get leaner, I think this is something that all of you guys would benefit greatly from. So let's get right into why this magical powder in this jar that smells a little weird is amazing, how can we use it, and why we should all be using it. And I know what you're gonna say. All you need for dieting is a calorie deficit, and that's all that matters. You do not need Psyllium Husk, you just need a calorie deficit. Yeah, guys. I know that. I know you need a calorie deficit for a diet. You know that, I know that. That is the standard. If you don't have a calorie deficit, you're not gonna lose weight. But what is the biggest problem with dieting? Getting hungry. If you're not hungry, you're not gonna wanna eat. And if you don't wanna eat, it is much easier to stay in a calorie deficit. So the horrible thing called hunger that we all face when we're dieting is the biggest problem with dieting and the hardest part about dieting. And that is when Psyllium Husk comes into play, because this stuff will help curb your hunger. It will help keep you fuller for longer. And that is the magic of Psyllium Husk, in my opinion. There are lots of health benefits, but to me, I'm talking about why it is the secret and a hack for dieting. We're gonna focus on that aspect of Psyllium Husk and not all the health benefits that you could potentially get from having this as a supplement. So here I have 3 versions of Psyllium Husk. You might have seen this at your grocery store called Metamucil. The main ingredient in this, the main fiber in this is Psyllium Husk, but there's a bunch of other stuff in here that we don't want. There is orange flavor, there is sugar. So let's get rid of Metamucil and let's look at Psyllium Husk on its own. So there's a powdered version of it, which is this stuff just powdered up. Genius, yeah. This stuff is the whole husk of Psyllium Husk. All you really need, and what I would recommend, is getting the whole husk, because if you want to make a powder, throw it in your blender for a little bit. But what is Psyllium Husk? So Psyllium Husk is a soluble fiber, so that is different from an insoluble fiber such as a vegetable. So a lot of vegetables have insoluble fibers. The difference between that and soluble fiber is soluble fiber will hold on to a bunch of liquid in your gut and it's gonna form a gel-like substance. Think about soluble fiber as hugging a bunch of water and holding onto it really tightly. So it's gonna form a big gel-like substance in your stomach, which will help keep you fuller for longer because it's taking all that water, it is soaking it, it is absorbing it all up, it is hugging onto it, it is holding onto it really tightly in your stomach, and that is like having substance in your stomach that is going to keep you fuller longer. And so let's jump into an experiment right now and let's see exactly how this works. So the difference between the powder and the whole husk is just the volume size. So this is going to take up more space. So if you look at 5 grams of this stuff, a tablespoon of it is 5 grams. This stuff, a teaspoon of it is 5 grams. That's just because you take this, you grind it up into this, and so it gets compressed. We are going to see exactly how this forms a gel-like substance, and we'll use the powder, and let's see how much water it can actually absorb and hold on to. You didn't think we weren't going to have a food scale in this video, right? Come on. So I'm going to take 5 grams of this, throw it into this, and then I'm going to throw a bunch of liquid in. I'm not going to use water because it's going to be harder to see on camera, so I'm going to use almond milk. I'm going to start with 1/4 of a cup of almond milk, then I'll go to 1/2 cup of almond milk, then 3/4 of a cup. Your boy can do math. So let's start with 1/4 of a cup. And let's stir. It is basically like a gel, like one ball. So what happened was, initially when I was mixing it, it was more of a liquidy consistency, but over time, it kept absorbing and absorbing, getting thicker and more like a gel. I'm gonna add 1/4 of a cup of almond milk to this, and so that's gonna have a 1/2 cup total for 1 teaspoon of powdered Psyllium Husk, or 5 grams of Psyllium Husk. So this is with 1/2 cup of almond milk in the Psyllium Husk, and I've only mixed it for about a minute. Just got it dissolved and very liquidy. If we let it sit for a little bit, it is gonna get thicker over time, just like me on this ball. Just kidding, I'm not balking. So I just added another half cup of liquid to this and we are back to square one. You know the deal. Thicker over time, keep mixing, let it sit for a little bit. And with 3/4 cup of liquid in this, when there was a half cup, it was like the consistency of applesauce. And now it is the consistency of a really thick syrup. So just like this 1 teaspoon or 5 grams of powdered psyllium husk absorbed a ton of water, that is exactly what's happening inside your stomach. So when you have psyllium husk and you have a bunch of liquid with it, like water or any sort of liquid, it is gonna form that same sort of gel-like substance in your stomach. That is gonna help keep you full because you're having a teaspoon of psyllium husk, but in your stomach you have all this food and it's satiating you, which is why it is such a hack, such a cheat code for dieting, because you're eating less when you're dieting and you're trying to feel fuller, and this is gonna help do that. So some pro tips, as we saw in that experiment, psyllium husk is gonna absorb a lot of water. So when you're having it, have it with a bunch of water. Why? Because that water, along with the psyllium husk, is gonna form a gel-like substance in your stomach and keep you fuller for longer. Another pro tip is psyllium husk can be a laxative if you have a lot of it. Just like you don't dive right into the deep end of the pool, you start in the kiddie pool, you got the floaties on, you got your 3 foot, and then you work your way up to the deep end. It is the same thing with psyllium husk. Start small. Start with a little bit in your diet, see how you feel, and then add more. Because if you jump right in and have a bunch of tablespoons of this stuff, you might not want to be squatting the next day. And I know what you're saying. Psyllium husk, gross. It doesn't taste good. I'm not having it with a bunch of water. I can't get it down. But don't worry, guys. Of course, I got a recipe for you. These are gonna be some psyllium husk pancakes, or as I like to call them, fiber protein pancakes, because it is all protein and all fiber, and it is delicious. All you need is psyllium husk. So for this, I've always used the whole husk. I think it works better. I think it absorbs better. A little bit of baking powder, some coconut flour, and some egg whites. Use 10 grams of coconut flour, 5 grams of psyllium husk, a pinch of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and a little bit of sweetener just to make these pancakes sweeter, because the sweeter the better. So I'm gonna use this powdered erythritol monk fruit sweetener. Any form of sweetener you want, you use. It doesn't matter if it's powdered or if it's a liquid sweetener, if it's a coffee syrup, it doesn't matter what it is. This is completely optional, but I love cinnamon, so I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon into this. So I got the powders mixed up right here. And to this, I'm gonna add 140 grams of egg whites. If you're cracking whole eggs and using the egg whites from that and you're not using the ones in a carton, it is gonna be equivalent to 4 or 5 whole eggs, depending on if your eggs are small or big. So if they're small, use 5. If they're big, use 4. When you run out of egg whites, just kidding, you never run out of egg whites. Always have a backup. I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla extract into this, and that's it. If you see that, those psyllium husks have bloomed and this batter has turned pretty thick. So toss this on a pan, let it cook on one side on a medium heat for 4 minutes. Then I'll flip it, let it cook for another 2 to 4 minutes. That tastes pretty sweet, that tastes pretty good. I made 1 giant pancake. You can make smaller pancakes if you want, but I like to go big or go home. I don't know how to flip using a spatula. That is a fluffy pancake. That's got some sound to it. It sounds like a real pancake when you slap that thing down. I told you guys, psyllium husk is like magic. Like, how did egg whites with a little bit of psyllium husk, a little bit of coconut flour, turn into an actual pancake? Like, I was shocked when I first made this. It is that good. It is time for a taste test. Look at that. It is airy, it is fluffy, it's crazy. What the psyllium husk does, it's literally a magic ingredient. This whole pancake, 140 calories, 16 grams of protein. Like, what? Let's give it a try. It is so good. You know I can't eat pancakes without sugar-free syrup, so of course I have to throw that on there. But that is really tasty. So what are some other things you can do with psyllium husk other than make pancakes? Well, I like to make homemade protein bars with Psyllium Husk. I got a chocolate Rice Krispie protein bar, a cookie dough protein bar, a chocolate coconut protein bar. If you guys want me to make a video on the recipe for these protein bars and how I make them using Psyllium Husk, just let me know in the comments down below and I got you guys. So I never drink Psyllium Husk and just put it in water and have it as a drink. I always make some sort of recipe with it, and that's how I incorporate it into my diet. So to wrap things up, Psyllium Husk is such a cheat code. It is such a hack for dieting, for losing weight, for staying lean, and for getting shredded, because it helps keep you fuller for longer, and that is the hardest part about dieting. It is the hunger that you get when dieting. I want to show you guys how I use it in my diet and why I think it is going to help a ton of you guys out. So let's give Psyllium Husk a little bit more love. Let's use it in our diets. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if you've used Psyllium Husk below, and I will see you all in the next video. I'm just kidding. I thought that I was almost about to fall on my pancake. Ooh, would have ruined a good pancake.